Hello, Phantom fans. My name is Sam Olmstead. His name is Justin Irwin. This is the Dump and Chase podcast. Oh, the things we have to talk about this week. The Phantoms swept the Green Bay Gamblers this past weekend, pulling 4 points ahead of Green Bay with 2 games in hand. And thanks to Madison splitting their weekend, the Phantoms are back to trailing the Capitals by only 3 points for 4th place with 4 games in hand. And after this weekend, it'll be 5 games in hand. And while we're just past the halfway point of the season and still have about 2.5 months to go, this is where the conversations about playoff positioning start to happen. And since the USHL is back to a 16 playoff format, there is a huge difference between 4th and 5th place.
Yeah. Obviously all season points matter, but yeah, we're getting into the playoff push, and especially considering how we're only playing Eastern Conference teams. Most of the teams in the East are, only playing the East. And, that just makes all the points matter a lot more. So going forward, you really have to fight for everything. So
to start things out, we wanted to first thank the official sponsor of the Dump and Chase podcast, Advanced Podiatry. So for office locations and appointment information, check out advancedpodiatry.com. And thank you to everyone who is tuning in this week, whether on Western Reserve Radio, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Welcome back for another episode, or if you are a first-time listener, welcome. At the end of the day, we're all fans, and we do this all for you. So now that we got that first part out of the way, I have some stuff I want to bitch about. I don't have to put the E on the episode for that, right?
No, I think that, standards and practices just cleared that. So yeah,
okay.
We're good.
Listening to Lincoln's podcast, they got me paranoid about that now, where the line is. One of our favorite targets on the show the past couple of years is the insertion of the NTDP U18s into what used to be the USHL All-Star Game, but now it has gone one step further. Last week, it was announced that the U17s were added to the North American Hockey League Prospect Tournament, which they dominated because, again, it's an established team playing against squads that got to practice once or twice. And instead of 4 NAHL prospect teams participating in this tournament, that got bumped down to 3. So I'm telling you right now, mark my words, within 5 years, the BioSteel All-American game will just be the U17s and the U18s.
I don't have any words for this one. It doesn't come as a real surprise, but yeah, I'm glad. I actually was thinking about going to a couple of the games. They were over in Cranberry. And my car was in the shop, and it was like,
quite frankly, I almost feel like the USHL is really missing out an opportunity to jump on this bandwagon. Why not send the Chicago Steel down to play a prospect game in the NA3HL? That would be tier 3 for anyone keeping score at home. The NCDC All-Star Game is on February 22nd. Why not boot one of those teams and send the Tri-City Storm instead? Forget Game Changers on Disney Plus. There's your 4th Mighty Ducks movie. A plucky, ragtag, down on their luck team of 10-year-olds from District 5 that has to find the right motivation to come together as a team and play an exhibition game against the Muskegon Lumberjacks. Actually, that may be where to send the Storm, because who wouldn't want to see Tri-City's goalie punch a 10-year-old?
Oh, okay. Well, watch any loose pucks,
have to give the referees baseball mitts when they're out there if he's on the ice. How a month ago, however long it was, the Phantoms had to bring in an e-bug for the weekend, and we mentioned that at this level we hadn't really seen a goalie kicked out of a game for misconduct. Arseny Sergeyev from Tri-City picked up his 2nd game misconduct in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And this time it wasn't only punching a guy who was laying prone on the ice. He threw the puck at the referee.
Yeah. Who was calling a penalty on him, I think, for punching the guy on the ice. I think he was upset that the whistle wasn't blown, I'm sure this will get him a goaltender of the week again. Like last time he got suspended and then was given goaltender of the week.
Yeah. He gave up 5 goals in that game, so I don't think it's going to happen for him this time. He had given up 5 goals before the second period even ended.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to make a whole lot of social commentary here, but, this team has a few high character players on it, so to speak. So,
Mm-hmm.
we all know how Anthony Noreen operates as well. So, that adds to it. Uh,
Oh, what's his
I,
name? You brought him up before. Was it Mitch Miller or?
I wasn't gonna name names, but yeah.
Oh, I think his name should be out there.
Yeah,
We won't
I
we
don't
won't
want to
we
relitigate things.
yeah, we won't go into it. Just go and Google Mitch Miller. It won't take you long
Yeah.
to figure out what we're talking about if you don't know what we're talking about. A couple little quick bits of Phantoms news before we get into the weekend recap. Phantoms a new addition to the roster, Owen Carlisle. He is coming from shoot.
Honey Bay. Well, no.
No.
No, yeah. The Utica Junior Comets.
There we go. NCDC.
Yeah. That's why he didn't have anything listed for, previous team because, they're not sanctioned, so we can't actually mention that.
And then if you've seen the lineup sheets the past few weeks, you've seen that Steven Sardarian has been listed as injured. We don't know the exact nature of the injury. Even if we did, we really wouldn't talk about it here. I guess he's working his way back from what I've been told, but there's still no timetable on his return. Definitely send Steven all the best. The sooner we see him back out on the ice, the better.
Yeah, agreed. He's a fairly dynamic player out there. I've noticed, they've tried a few different line combinations to try to replace him. I don't think, they're fully comfortable in some of these. So yeah, the sooner he gets back, the better.
All right, so with all that, let's get into this weekend. The Phantoms making their final trip to Green Bay for the season, picking up wins in both of these games. You want to win every game, irregardless, but when going into this weekend, Youngstown being tied with Green Bay in the standings, these are games you definitely want to win because it does have an impact, especially later on down the road with playoff positioning and everything else. So jumping into the game on Friday, that was a 3-1 win for the Phantoms. We'll take a look through the scoring here. In the first period, Jaden Grant, well, can't say kicked it off. This was 17 seconds left in the first period. At 19:43, Jaden Grant picks up his 14th of the season from Winter Wallace and Bayard Hall. That gave Youngstown a 1-0 lead. That was the only scoring of the period. A minute and a second into the second period, Green Bay's Sawyer Shaw picked up his third of the season from Middlestat, tying the game at 1. At the 15:10 mark, Jaden Grant, again, his second of the game, 15th of the season on the power play from Trey Taylor and Charlie Lurie, giving Youngstown a 2-1 lead. That's how we would go into the second intermission. The third period, Kenta Isagai, we talked about last week, was able to snap a 15-game scoreless streak last weekend, picks up his first goal in quite a while here. At the 9:38 mark, his fourth of the season from Adam Ingram and Andrew Centrella, giving Youngstown a 3-1 lead, and that's how the game would end. Total shots in the game, Green Bay took that 33-31. Youngstown on the power play was 1 for 1. Green Bay on the power play was 0 for 1. Jacob Fowler stopped 22 of 23 shots in the win. So on the season, his record improves to 2-0 with a 1.74 goals against average and a .938 save percentage. As far as this game is concerned, very easily, the captain stepped up. Jaden set the tone for this game.
Yeah, it was, not just scoring. He played physical all weekend. Definitely noticeable in front of the net. And yeah, just, proving why he's got the C on his jersey. We've noticed this going back to last season, but yeah, when he puts the team on his shoulders, we tend to roll over teams sometimes.
One thing I will mention is the Phantoms defense, and this was kind of a theme of the entire weekend. From top to bottom, this may be the best I've seen the defense play all year. As far as every player they were rolling out, onto the blue line. Green Bay was not getting many opportunities in close to the net. A ton of perimeter shots. A lot of one and dones, and just kind of general trouble getting through the neutral zone most of these games. But I would say top to bottom, this was probably the best the defense has looked all season.
Yeah, and like you said, it was all hands on deck. Every player out there, almost every shift, you noticed just a real attention to making sure that they didn't give up any easy space.
Okay, so moving to the game on Saturday, that one was a 5-2 win for the Phantoms. And make sure I get my breath here. There's a lot of scoring going on. So in the first period, Youngstown again kicks off the scoring at the 2:32 mark. Tyler Catalano, his first USHL goal from Trey Taylor and Grant Porter, giving Youngstown a 1-0 lead. So congratulations, Tyler. At the 13:04 mark, Winter Wallace, his 9th of the season from Evan Werner and Tyler Catalano, giving Youngstown a 2-0 lead. That was right at the end of a penalty kill. Evan coming out of the box, leading a 2-on-1 break with Winter and kind of doing the shot rebound pass to Winter. Evan coming down the left side, Winter coming down the right, and just kind of shot it off the goaltender's pads, deflecting it right to Wallace for the open net. Really nice little bit of playing there. Then at the 18-19 mark, what I like to refer to as a Crosby goal, Evan Werner, his 8th of the season from Charlie Lurie and TJ Schweigart, giving Youngstown a 3-0 lead. That was Evan down below the goal line, practically behind the net, and just kind of banking it off the back of the goaltender and into the net. Little spoiler here, probably my favorite moment of the weekend. So yeah, Youngstown takes a 3-0 lead into the first intermission. Going to the second period, early on again at the 2:51 mark, TJ Schweigart, his 4th of the season from Evan Werner and Charlie Lurie, giving Youngstown a 4-0 lead. And then at the 7:27 mark, you have Winter Wallace with a beautiful breakout pass to Adam Ingram, goes one-on-one with the goalie, tucks it right in through the 5-hole, his 18th of the season. Youngstown takes a 5-0 lead. Then at the 12:41 mark, Green Bay finally ruins the shutout. Ryan Green on the power play, his 13th of the season from Hallam and Lamb, cutting the deficit to 5-1. And that's how we go to the third period. So in the only goal in the third period, that was at the 12:48 mark. Green Bay's Alex Servagno, shorthanded, his 10th of the season. That was unassisted, making the score 5-2. That would end up being the final score for the game. So total shots in the game, Youngstown took it this time, 37-32. Youngstown on the power play, 0 for 4. Green Bay on the power play was 1 for 5. Kyle Chevette stopped 30 of 32 in the win. This improves his record to 12 wins, 7 losses, 3 overtime losses, and 2 shootout losses, with a 2.96 goals against and a 905 save percentage. Things got a little chippy, especially there about 10 minutes left in the third. This game got a little bit ugly. Other than that, again, just another solid win for the Phantoms.
Yeah. Green Bay wasn't real happy with the way things were going there. And the second game, we put on a little bit of an offensive explosion there. And that was, I guess, the only thing Green Bay could come back with was a little bit of chippiness. And, some people seem to enjoy that, but I'll go on a rant on that at a later point.
So we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll get into this week's edition of 4 Points. You're listening to the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio.
The Youngstown Phantoms return to the Covelli Centre February 18th and 19th for a pair of games against the Muskegon Lumberjacks. Saturday the 19th is First Responders Appreciation Night. All first responders can get a $5 general admission ticket to the game. Plus it's $2 pints until the halfway point of regulation. The road to the NHL goes through Youngstown, so come see tomorrow's stars today. Puck drops both nights at 7:05. Call the Phantoms box office for tickets or more information at 330-747-PUCK. That's 330-747-7825 or visit youngstownphantoms.com.
And we're back. So for listeners new and old, 4 Points is where we break down the previous weekend into 4 categories: what we liked, what we didn't like, favorite moment, and the Dump and Chase podcast 3 stars of the week. So Justin, why don't you go ahead and kick this off?
Yeah, what I liked this weekend, pretty much the team effort, especially defense, like you mentioned. But we rolled, 4 lines and, nobody took a shift off. You could say we had some players better than others, but, every shift out there, we were working hard and it paid off. And we haven't seen that a lot sometimes in past seasons. And even this season, we've noticed that sometimes it's been one or two lines carrying the workload. It was just really fun to watch this weekend.
Yeah, that kind of bleeds into what I liked. And we've had a handful of games this season where, the Phantoms get out to an early lead. Then they tend to, take their foot off the gas, start slowing down their game, not getting away from their game. And then the other team ends up coming back. We didn't see that this weekend. They never took their foot off the gas. For 120 minutes this past weekend, they were pressing the issue. They were setting the pace. And for the most part, Green Bay was on their heels, most of these two games.
Yeah, and their own barn, too. So these games are going to be coming back to the Covelli. So good luck there, Green Bay. So what I didn't like, there wasn't a whole lot to not like this weekend. Things here or there. But what really irked me, especially on Saturday, we've seen this mentioned other places. Green Bay's play-by-play, Tobin Meyer, sucks. He sucks badly. I could forgive guys for messing up the pronunciation of players willfully sometimes. You miss a play here or there. But this guy just devolves into everything is a penalty if we touch a guy. What Winter Wallace was interfering with the goalie on a play when, you go back and look at the replay, he was on the boards behind the net.
That was Jaden's first goal on Friday at the end of the first period. A Green Bay player had run into Randazzo, knocked his stick out of his hand. While this was going on, Wallace was behind the net, and then Wallace skated out and basically screened the goalie when Jaden was coming in and picked up that goal. And he was yelling that it was Wallace that hit him and knocked the stick out of his hand. And even after they showed the replay, he was still, kind of goes into his "I don't know," which is code for "I got that wrong, but I'm not going to admit it."
Yeah, but it was Saturday. Green Bay is losing badly, and at one point in the third period, they picked a fight, got Winter Wallace to drop the gloves after they pushed Jaden Grant into their own goalie, etc. Okay, so you got that out of the way. Winter Wallace obliged, played to the code, and fought a guy. Whatever. Like the very next play, they try to start another fight along the boards, and the refs are having none of that. And this guy's screaming, "Oh, let him go! Let him go! This is the most fun we've had all night." Yeah, it's like you're for one, your top scorer was already in the box for 10-minute misconduct for a cheap shot. You've just sent Jared Crespo in for a fight. And now you want to pick more fights because, hey, we're getting our butts kicked. Forget playing hockey.
And the funny thing was, and it was kind of a disappointment on this level for the entire weekend. We had Nancy Funk on Twitter. Like, we were ready to rock and roll. Like, he was actually behaving himself. That whole thing with Winter supposedly running the goalie, which he didn't do, and by the time he came back from a break, in the intermission, he had already dropped it and moved on. Like, he was actually very well behaved on Friday. And for the most part on Saturday, until like that 10-minute mark of the third period, he had behaved himself. He calls a good game. We're never going to say he cannot call the game of hockey. Like, he calls a good game. It's when he starts injecting his opinions that things go down, go south real quick. And when you're basically advocating that, well, our team did not play well enough this weekend to get a win, so we're just going to get our pound of flesh, and that's how we're going to, hold our heads up high as we walk out of here. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're advocating for violence on the ice because your team wasn't good enough to win that weekend. That's, it's like he was doing so good up to that point, and then, and even then, and even then, the last 10 minutes, he settled down once that was all done.
Yeah, well, they got a goal. They got a second goal there late, so yeah, they're going to mount the big comeback.
But yeah, as far as what I didn't like, and it's that 10-minute mark, it was just kind of getting sucked into Green Bay's hijinks. And we talk about this with Cedar Rapids. You'll have these games against other teams that Youngstown will only have a couple of penalties in a game. Sometimes one, sometimes none. We've seen that way more this season than we've seen in a long time. But Youngstown plays Cedar Rapids, all of a sudden it's 7-8 penalties per game because they just kind of get, sucked into their style. And that's kind of Green Bay's thing as well. When things aren't going their way, they're just going to start throwing, fists and sticks around and just see what happens, see what sticks to the wall. And, Youngstown just bought right into it. You're up 5-1 at that point. Just skate away.
Yeah, well, on the same token, you've got a 4-goal cushion. Yeah, don't.
If it's a sense of pride, just let it go when the game's over. Point to the scoreboard as you're skating off. That's the only thing that matters at the end of a game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Winter Wallace obliged him on the one, and you got your show. Move on.
Yeah, but that's where you start getting into suspension territory. And you've got Muskegon coming up the next weekend. We're going to need all hands on deck. Muskegon has been a very good team the last couple months. We've seen it firsthand recently. It's, we need all hands on deck. Don't get sucked into that stuff.
Yeah.
You want the sense of pride, look up at the scoreboard, 5-1, you're good.
Favorite moment. I'm going to go with the Adam Ingram goal. I guess we can go, there was a couple good goals in that game. I like the way Winter Wallace has been a lot more effective, offensively lately. He starts the rush, feeds a nice little pass to Ingram, who's, already starting to walk around the defense. He just skates in, forehand, backhand. I don't know if he put it in forehand or backhand. It's really hard to say. But, he just dazzled the goaltender and, slipped it right underneath him. But, all around, just, a nice play off the rush. And we've kind of given Winter Wallace a little bit of grief for not, contributing more offensively to start the season. But that was a nice quick turnaround by him and starting the playoff.
Yeah. Again, like I said earlier, my favorite moment this weekend is the Evan Werner goal on Saturday, the Crosby goal. And we talked about, and Brett, and Coach Patterson had said earlier in the season, about, against Green Bay, saying, how Evan had been kind of snake bitten so far and just wasn't, just the shot was just gripping the stick a little tight or whatever. The shot was just a little off. I think when you're scoring goals from behind the net, banking it off the goaltender, I would think that's gone away. That is definitely not the issue anymore. And I don't know. There's just something there's just something special about just those off, that's not even a bad angle shot. That's like an awful angle shot that goes in. There's such a surprise element to it that, I can't help but love it when that happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there was one other one. I think maybe it was Justin Varner earlier in the season at home did that once, the bank off the goalie. So yeah, that's something obviously, a guy who's confident is going to see that.
And wasn't it on Saturday? Like twice they tried, Green Bay tried the Michigan goal. Was it Friday or Saturday? It was one of the two. There was
no, it was Friday. It was when the game was still, it was late in the game, but it was still being, close enough that if you score, you might be able to, come up with something and mount a comeback. But no, they're going to sit there behind the net and try to play cute. Yeah, and there was twice they tried to start the Michigan and failed.
Yeah, and both times the puck fell off their stick as soon as it was 6 inches off the ice. So.
Yeah, and I don't think Fowler was going to fall for that either. He was
he didn't. No, he had his shoulder in the on the post there. He was ready for it. All right, so getting into the Dump and Chase podcast 3 stars of the week. And on the one hand, you would like to say it's a good problem to have, but it was still a problem. Initially, we had 7 or 8 guys on this list that we had to whittle down to 3.
And that, like I said, I could make cases for, a few more players on that list. But yeah. So obviously this week, the 3 stars are just the tip of the iceberg. But yeah.
Yeah, we had joked Saturday night that, we might have to do like an 8 stars of the week. Cause it was a bit of a trick whittling this down to 3. So if you're a player listening and you did not make this list, there were razor thin margins. So take no offense if you didn't make it. But we will start out the 3rd star of the week. Jacob Fowler picking up the win on Friday. Again, it's just the numbers were so close between his game on Friday and Kyle's game on Saturday. They were just a tiny bit better. So we knew we knew that there needed to be a goaltender in this top 3. Jacob just barely eked out Kyle to pick up the 3rd star, but definitely no disrespect to Kyle's game on Saturday.
No, and I really like the way Fowler was playing, especially late in the game on Friday. He was playing the puck, clearing it, starting to play up ice. We've seen that already with him before, but this is his first start on the road, I think. And obviously he's confident with the players in front of him, and that's good.
We'll see. That'll be interesting going forward because, Kyle Shabet's in OA. He'll be gone after this season. He'll be moving on. Jacob, he's 17. He could be around for the next couple years.
Yeah.
So, as long as he continues to play well, it'll be interesting to see because he is very good with handling the puck.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the better ones we've seen in a while, and we haven't seen much of him, but just what we've seen so far, he's probably one of the better puck handling goaltenders we've seen in a long time. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how that, gets factored in, like maybe going into next season, if there's a way they kind of work that into breakouts, that he's able to, handle the puck the way he does.
Yeah. So 2nd star of the week, my captain, Jaden Grant. Like I said, he put the team on his shoulders there Friday, really got things going off on the right foot.
Yeah, 2 goals on Friday, what ended up, in a 3-1 game, what ended up being the game-winning goal. So he was probably one of the easier ones to, we knew we wanted him on there, but also as far as what names, is also what order to put these in.
Yeah, he was also the guy they were trying to pick the fight with, I think, on Saturday. And, you try to pick the fight with Jaden Grant, you get Winter Wallace.
Yeah. So for the Dump and Chase podcast, 1st star of the week, that is going to Evan Werner. 1 goal and 2 assists on Saturday, and he also had the game-winning goal in that game. And for me, what tipped it to him for number 1, not only did he have the 1 goal, both of his assists were primary.
Yeah, and like you said, he seemed snake bitten earlier in the season. So, for him to be, not just scoring, the confident, tricky goal behind the net, but yeah, he's making plays. So at this point, we need somebody, out there to start it up ice. And both were really nice passes. So.
All right. So that'll do it for 3 stars of the week. And that'll do it for 4 points. So we're going to take another break. On the other side, we'll look ahead to a 2-game series at the Covelli Centre with the visiting Muskegon Lumberjacks. Stick around right here on Western Reserve Radio.
Advanced Podiatry has been making happy feet in the Mahoning Valley for 35 years. Our offices are located in Cortland, Champion, Austintown, Columbiana, and Howland. Our Howland office has relocated to 8601 East Market Street and Howland Corners. Advanced Podiatry offers sports medicine and treatment plans for all ages. You can also request an appointment online by visiting our website at advancedpodiatry.com. Advanced Podiatry, where surgery is always a last resort.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
I have the sound up, and I appreciate the guys that do the work now. But it is with great appreciation I see what the guys do, not only the announcers, but also the players. So we've had wonderful playoffs. I mean, single, double, triple overtime games. It's been fantastic.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
And we're back. So this weekend, the Muskegon Lumberjacks will travel to the Covelli Centre for the first time this season. This was one of those oddball scheduling things we talked about before the season started. Youngstown and Muskegon playing 10 games against each other this season. The first 5 of which were up in Muskegon. The last 5 will be down here in Youngstown. As far as coming down to the end of the season, I think I'd rather be seeing them down here than traveling up there.
Yeah. Like I said, with Green Bay, these series are now starting to shift back to the Covelli. We've played fairly decent on the road, I think, and we're going to be a lot tougher at home. So.
Okay, so as far as this weekend is concerned, this will be the 6th and 7th meeting with the Muskegon Lumberjacks this season. So far in this season series, Youngstown is 2 wins, 1 loss, 1 overtime loss, 1 shootout loss versus Muskegon. The last meeting, January 21st, that was a 4-3 win in overtime for the Phantoms, and on January 22nd, which was a 4-0 loss. Yeah, this was just a couple episodes ago, so hopefully a little better result this weekend. As far as the 5 games these teams have played so far, Muskegon has outscored Youngstown 14-10. Vast difference in the number of power play opportunities so far in this series. Youngstown on the power play against Muskegon, 6 for 22. And then Muskegon on the power play in this series is 3 for 10. So last weekend, the Lumberjacks split a 2-game series with Madison, losing 7-3 on Friday, winning 4-3 on Saturday. So Muskegon coming into this weekend has a record of 23-11, 3-3. That is good for 52 points and second place in the Eastern Conference. Youngstown coming into the weekend, 17-13, 4-3. That gives them 41 points and sole possession of 5th place in the Eastern Conference. Muskegon on the season averaging 4.13 goals per game. They are giving up 3.8 goals per game with a plus 13 goal differential. Youngstown on the season scoring 3.16 goals per game and giving up 3.14 goals per game. They are back in the plus as far as the goal differential is concerned. They are back up to a +1. So as far as the special teams, Muskegon on the power play, 20.4%. That is 5th in the East. Their penalty kill at 72% is 8th in the East. And it's not really something we bring up, but Muskegon's goal differential as far as power play goals scored and power play goals allowed is actually worse than Sioux Falls, whose power play percentage is like 9% over in the Western Conference.
Yeah, they're still in the single digits.
Yeah. Youngstown's power play coming in at 21.1%. That is 4th in the Eastern Conference. Penalty kill still ticking up little by little, week by week. The number keeps rising. Right now, 75.4%. That is 5th in the East. So both of these games with a 7:05 start time on Friday and Saturday. Saturday is First Responders Night, so tickets for First Responders is only $5. And as always on Saturday nights, $2 pints until halfway through the second period. Both of these games will be available on Hockey TV and streaming locally on Western Reserve Radio with Voice of the Phantoms, Matt Lipsack, on the call. So for ticket information, call the Phantoms box office at 330-747-PUCK. That is 330-747-7825. Or go online to youngstownphantoms.com. Also point out real quick, they just released the information for season tickets for next year. all of the sections, I believe, price drop from this season, so becoming more affordable. Looks like they've ramped up the perks a little bit, so make sure to check out the Phantoms website if you need to renew for next season, or if you're looking into getting tickets. Definitely a little bit more affordable for next season.
Yeah, not something you hear a lot of in anywhere anymore. Things getting cheaper. But yeah, big weekend coming up. Obviously, this series has been more or less, pretty even all season, I think. So, these have been close games a lot. We've gone past regulation, 3 times against them? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we might get some bonus hockey. I'd like to see us get 4 points than not have any extra points there. Regulation wins would be nice. Like you said, this is a tough team, especially over the last few months. And I think we're going to have to pretty much play like we did last weekend, and everybody is going to have to be on board.
We have shown this season we can play with Muskegon, even as well as they've been doing more recently. We can hang with Muskegon. It's just going to boil down to which Phantoms team shows up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last time we went up to Muskegon, is it the team that showed up on Friday and wins 4-3, or is it the team that shows up on Saturday? Or I take that back, the team that never showed up on Saturday and lost 4-0.
Yeah. And again, like I said, it's going to be, I think, come down to our defense. If we play like we did last weekend, everybody on the same page, buying into the system, then I think we'll be fine. We want to keep it down to 2 or 3 goals, 3 at the most, I think. If we can do that, we should be fine.
Well, yeah, it's, I bring up the point, let me look here. Muskegon averaging 4.13 goals on the season. Against Youngstown this season, they're averaging just short of 3 goals a game.
Yeah. And I think if we can keep them to, 3 or less, then we should be fine. They start scoring 4 or more, we are going to have problems.
Okay, so we're going to take our last break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this episode and preview next week's show. You're listening right here on Western Reserve Radio. Hello, Phantom fans. This is the Dump and Chase podcast.
We're trying to model ourselves after what you guys have done a little bit.
Voice of the Phantoms and friend of the show, Mr. Matt Lipsack.
I am along for the ride and perhaps provide some modicum of adult supervision here, although really that's a lost cause at this point.
We welcome back Phantoms president Andrew Goldman. That went smoother. It went smoother than it did with Matt.
I want that added. I want that added.
What are you shaking your head now for?
I'm agreeing with you because he has absolutely killed us this year.
Yeah, that's not helping. I'm trying to process. Okay.
Well, so far, finger guns has meant Sam shut up, so got to come up with a different sign for that.
Listen, that was frightening.
We're back, and that will be it for this episode. Be sure to tune in next week where we will recap this weekend, the school day game, the Wednesday after. We're still figuring out what to do. The release time for that episode will be a little bit later in the day than normal because we'll be at the game while during what our normal release time of around noon is. We're working on some ideas what we might do for that game. We're still not sure yet, so stay tuned to social media and whatnot. We'll be recapping this weekend and looking ahead to a trip to Iowa for 2 games with the Dubuque Fighting Saints. Those are going to be a fun couple of games. Dubuque is very close here to lapping both Chicago and Muskegon in the standings, so...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And we always match up good, I think, against Dubuque. This team is scary. Stephen Halliday. Yeah. I mean, in a million years have thought he would be this dominant of a player this year. But he is.
But yeah, we'll be getting into all that next week. Also, there is a poll on my Twitter feed, I believe until Thursday evening. The next 4 players I want to interview are planned, but I decided to let all of you decide the order. No favoritism or hurt feelings or anything like that. These are just the next 4, and I decided to let all of you decide the order. So make sure you check that out on Twitter and get a vote in for who you want to hear from. We want to thank our wonderful sponsors at Advanced Podiatry. Make sure to check out advancedpodiatry.com for office locations and appointment information, and also services provided. As always, the Dump and Chase podcast is brought to you by hockeyfan.com. Also be sure to check out our syndication partner at ohiohockeydigest.com. Now, we have plenty of options to listen to this show. You will not be left wanting. You can listen every Wednesday at 5:06 on Western Reserve Radio, either on westernreserveradio.com, the TuneIn or Live 365 apps, the Western Reserve Radio Facebook and Twitter accounts, and the Youngstown Phantoms Facebook page. And also, I will bring up, since there is a home series this weekend, this show will also air 1 hour before the game on Friday. You can also find new and archived episodes on YouTube and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Make sure to follow us on social media. You can find Justin at facebook.com/YTHockeyFan and on Twitter at YTHockeyFan, both of those PHAN. You can find me on Twitter at dump_chasepod. 93 followers at as of time of recording, so I'm creeping closer to 100. I even got a former NHL player following me now, although maybe not the one I wanted. Some of the teams he played for, when you're a Penguins fan, it doesn't make him very endearing. but I'll take it. So instead of remembering all of these links, you only need one link, and that is to our Linktree page, which houses all of these. You can find everything in one spot. That can be found in the description of however you are listening to this show. And thank you everyone for listening along this week. We hope to see you all at the Covelli Centre this weekend. Stop down to the bottom of section 222 and say hello. So for Justin Irwin, I'm Sam Olmstead. We'll talk with you all next week. Bye now.